HarperCollins and HarperAudio present The Lost Americans, a novel, by Christopher Bollen, performed by Lameece, Issaq. A note before we begin: for a map of Cairo and Egypt and the author's acknowledgments, don't forget to download the accompanying enhancement PDF from your audiobook provider, or go directly to harpercollins.com/pages/The Lost Americans. For my sister. There is a point of no return, unremarked at the time, in most lives. Graham Greene. Out here I feel more helpless with you than without you. You mention the danger and list the equipment. We talk of people caring for each other in emergencies, laceration, thirst. But you look at me like an emergency. Adrian Rich. I have told my sons that they are not under any circumstances to take part in massacres, and that the news of massacres of enemies is not to fill them with satisfaction or glee. I have also told them not to work for companies which make massacre machinery, and to express contempt for people who think we need machinery like that. Kurt Vonnegut. Cairo. Did he know, that last afternoon, as he wandered the tangled streets of Cairo's Garden City, that he'd never make it home again? He must have suspected it, for that was the point of the errand he was running. Eric Castle, 3 months shy of 40, an expert in explosives, more than a little drunk, staggered across the road and nearly got mowed down by a careening Peugeot. This was the way in Cairo. Every step felt like a near miss. Still, the walk through the decaying neighborhood of grand, neglected mansions and rifle-guarded embassies gave him a chance to think, or at least to defog his brain from the 5 whiskeys he'd consumed to chase away the terrible thoughts in the first place. It was sticky for early November, the shade warm and thick with flies, and Eric had to watch his steps carefully with the alcohol co-piloting them. The trees in Garden City could trip up even a sober person. He had never seen city trees growing so wild and unchecked. They were more like isolated storm systems, great twisting cyclones buckling the pavement, while their arms smashed through front gates and supplied a steady rain of bark and bird droppings. The cars parked along Albergus Road were draped in bolts of striped canvas, and judging from the debris collected on these covers, the cars hadn't been moved in some time. They reminded Eric of the motorboats tarped and left to rust in driveways back in his native Massachusetts. Feral cats slept on the car hoods, oblivious to the traffic. When the sidewalk crumbled away, Eric was forced to walk in the street. By now his ears should have grown accustomed to the loudness of Cairo. He had been stationed in Egypt once before, a few years back when he was working for a different company. On that trip, he'd been given a room with a view of the pyramids. "I'll take your word for it," he'd joked to the hotel manager, for only on the last morning could he make out the blurry shapes of those wonders in the distance, through miles of yolky smog. But Eric had been like a child at that window, standing on tiptoe to catch a glimpse of something so ancient and miraculous. On this trip, his company had booked him into a bland economy hotel. His room had no view, only a half-moon balcony overlooking an alley that offered a wormy breeze at night. Eric had been in Egypt for 6 weeks, and it was likely his assignment would extend for another 6. Too much work to leave, too many explosions to stage manage, unless his bosses got rid of him. Lately, when he had trouble sleeping, he sat out on the balcony in his underwear, drinking down minibar bottles and counting his mistakes. At the next intersection, Eric spotted a lull in traffic and ran in a clumsy diagonal across 4 lanes. On the opposite side, old men in blue robes lounged in a throng of mismatched chairs, plastic patio furniture next to foam-chewed office swivels. Chairs in Cairo were like pack mules, worked until the moment their legs gave out. The men practiced their English on this sweaty foreigner. "Hello, American? USA?"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?